Okay, your life.
Thanks, Ron. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the application update town hall held by Jason Karechi and myself. Jason is the scheme manager and director of Defi Payments Private Limited. My name is George. I'm a director with the Crow team that's assisting Jason in this engagement. The purpose of this town hall is to provide creditors with an update on the progress in the ongoing court application, which is presently before the High Court of Singapore. Elaborate more on timelines and discuss some ongoing concerns and understand creditor perspectives with respect to certain matters, such as the CEO role and replacement, as well as next steps that are being undertaken in preparation for a potential second distribution in the near future. Similar to previous town halls, this town hall will be phased in 3 sections. The first section will be an update, a written update via the slides that you see on screen, followed by us, Jason and I, addressing pre-submitted questions from creditors. And lastly will be the live Q&A section. Live Q&A section will be carried out here on the Zoom, which is also live streamed to YouTube via the link that was previously circulated to all creditors via email. Should you want to participate in the live Q&A session, the ideal approach would be to watch this town hall on YouTube until it is time for the live Q&A, at which point you can sign into the Zoom link, enter the waiting room, and exit the YouTube session. Once the live Q&A commences, we'll let our creditors in the waiting room into the Zoom, and you can pose questions live and have them answered live. The reason that you're asked to exit the YouTube stream while you're in the Zoom itself is to avoid echo, which causes audio issues. And once you're done answering your questions, you may, of course, view the live stream on YouTube link once again. All right, kicking off. So as by way of an update on the application, there was a hearing on the 4th of December for the application in the High Court of Singapore. And the application itself was made by the scheme manager to expedite the second distribution. Amongst what has been numerous disputes and issues with decision making at the board level of Defi Payments. Fundamentally, this application has been made by the scheme manager to obtain the court's approval for the second distribution via a third-party platform, Crypto.com, as opposed to the Vault platform. This was done mainly to cure the company's breach of the scheme in not carrying out the second distribution, which would also enable approximately $90 million of recovered illiquid assets to be distributed to scheme creditors in a secure and compliant way without further delay. At the hearing itself, the scheme manager's application was challenged on legal grounds by Damir Butmir, who is the creditor representative, CR, as abbreviated in these slides, who, despite having no security issues or concerns with Crypto.com, objected to using Crypto.com for the second distribution at the hearing itself. His arguments entailed that the scheme required all distributions to be made exclusively through the Vault platform, despite notwithstanding the serious security and compliance risks associated with the Vault platform. He further contended that the proper mechanism to resolve the second distribution issue was not via the court, but by breaking the deadlock in the company's board by a scheme creditors meeting, even though doing so would certainly result in further delays and costs to the second distribution. Should you need more information in respect of the application and the process, we had previously provided download links for all of the relevant filings made in this application. If you have not received these links or would like to receive the documents again, please write to us at george.gui@crow.com or dl.bald@crow.com. and we will send you another download link so that you may peruse the application documents. So these two are the positions set out in the at the hearing on 4th of December. As a result, an outcome of the hearing, the judge presiding over the hearing, Honorable Justice Aidan Shi, acknowledged the scheme manager's concerns and desire to expedite the second distribution. But given the fact that the CR raised objections on legal grounds, and given that this may be the first time the court will be intervening under Section 72 of the IRDA, the relevant statute, Justice Shi's directed that certain legal issues be addressed in further submissions. Both from three parties who can submit make submissions and affidavits, as detailed on the next slide. The relevant timelines in respect of the application are on basically the first timeline is by 4 p.m. on 19 December, which is the Friday of this week. Creditors who wish to state their views on further arguments and the application as set out on the slide above may do so only by way of an affidavit to be filed in the Singapore court by 4 p.m. this Friday. The adjournment of the application was done to hear further arguments on whether there is a proper implication of terms and how this may operate in relation to Section 72(4) of the IRDA 2018. If you're a creditor and you wish to state your views on this, please do so only by way of an affidavit by 4 p.m. this Friday. This should be filed with the Singapore court by the deadline. The next deadline will be on 26th of December 2025, also at 4 p.m., when the scheme manager is to file his written submissions relating to the further arguments by 4 p.m., and this will be limited to a maximum of 35 pages. Following this, the creditor rep has an opportunity to respond and file his written submissions by 9th of January at 4 p.m. Singapore time, with his submissions limited to a maximum of 25 pages. Following this, the Singapore court will confirm the hearing date of the application. There are three tentative dates that are set for this hearing. The morning of the 19th of January 2026, the morning of the 23rd of January 2026, and the afternoon of 30th of January 2026. These three times are tentative, and the court will revert to confirm the exact date of the hearing. We understand that these dates in January are the earliest available dates that the court can actually hear the further arguments on the application. We'll go into a bit more detail and discussion during the pre-submitted questions and the live Q&A in respect of the application. Please note that just as a general note, the application is sub judice and is presently making its way through the court process. As such, there are limits to what can and cannot be discussed on this call. Of course, Jason and I will do what we can to provide you as full of an update as reasonably practical. Lastly, in respect of the CEO role, as communicated to creditors in early November, the previous CEO, Malcolm Copeland, was terminated on 3rd November, and pursuant to his termination, he was required to engage in a comprehensive handover of his role and access to key company resources. We had, on the day of his termination, issued him comprehensive notice of termination, which confirmed his termination was effective immediately. And despite the initial confirmation from Mr. Copeland that he would be cooperative in this handover, he has not responded to our correspondence since 4th November 2025, the day after he was terminated. Furthermore, an internal investigation indicates that Mr. Copeland, following receipt of the notice of his termination, inappropriately authorized an overpayment of his salary in excess of his contractual entitlement. These balances have yet to be returned to the company. We have issued a letter of demand against Mr. Copeland and are seeking legal advice as to enforcement action. In the meantime, the position of the CEO remains vacant, which brings me to the next slide on the replacement of the CEO. Now, going forward, given that presently the application is before the court in respect of the second distribution, and the fact that there has been minimal progress and on a potential new business under the scheme, and the fact that given timelines of the scheme, it's unlikely that a new business is going to be possible. Going forward, we expect the role of the CEO to be materially reduced in scope and principally focused on a few key work streams, such as supervising operations and customer support teams, maintaining operations to facilitate any distribution and KYC compliance related scopes of work not supported by Crypto.com. And that's on the operational front as a CEO. On the board front, because the CEO has a dual CEO/board role contemplated in the scheme, participating in board meetings as a director to consider, discuss, and vote on operational and scheme-related matters, and working with the board to finalize and issue quarterly updates to creditors and carry out town hall to explain said updates. In our view, this role would be best filled by a professional with experience in corporate governance and illiquid asset recovery to optimize future recoveries for creditors. That said, we have put out we have asked for expressions of interest from creditors, and we understand that certain creditors are very interested and have since submitted expressions of interest in this role. We would like to use this live Q&A section to discuss this matter with creditors and take perspectives and understand creditor priorities. We're now done with the slides. We want to keep it short so we can spend more time addressing pre-submitted questions. Before I jump into the pre-submitted questions section of this presentation, Jason, do you have anything else to add? Or otherwise, I'll jump straight in.
No, George, let's get into the Q&A.
Sounds good. So the way that we'll run this pre-submitted questions section is I will read out the questions which have been submitted by creditors via email to the scheme manager team, and then we'll come back with our responses. We have got about 20 questions, so we'll take them in turn. First question: why did the scheme manager not schedule a scheme creditors meeting to break the deadlock on the second distribution? The current thinking and position is that a scheme creditors meeting is not the appropriate forum for decision making in respect of the second distribution. The main concerns that the scheme manager has is with using the Vault platform for the second distribution is security and compliance risk, and these risks present are to the degree such that the company and its directors cannot responsibly use the Vault platform going forward, even if a deadlock is broken in a scheme creditors meeting. And while replacing this current creditor rep with another creditor rep through a scheme creditors meeting may help break the deadlock, this approach will entail a significant time and cost. Multiple scheme creditors meetings may be required to secure sufficient votes, and success is not guaranteed, as the present CR appears to have, as previously discussed on prior town halls, to have sufficient support to block a scheme creditor vote for his removal. As such, carrying out multiple scheme creditor meetings to try to break the deadlock would likely serve to further postpone the second distribution and cause the incurrence of unnecessary time and cost to the detriment of scheme creditors. And this is also why scheme manager has attempted to expedite this second distribution by an application to court for the benefit of scheme creditors. Question number 2. If the court decides to limit or disregard the CR's involvement in the second distribution, would the scheme manager be able to make future distribution decisions without CR approval? Answer is yes, this is expected to be the case. And we do intend to work with Crypto.com for subsequent distributions and for residual values of the first distribution. if the court authorizes the SM, scheme manager, to effect the second distribution via crypto.com. Question number 3 is regarding how much time it would take to commence and initiate the distribution via crypto.com, assuming that the court grants the application. We expect the process to take about 3 to 4 weeks. If the court approval is granted, this gives creditors sufficient time to create accounts on crypto.com, clear KYC, submit withdrawal requests, and for the rebalancing in preparation for the second distribution to be carried out. Now, in the application, the scheme, it was made clear to the court and to creditors that there are a small number of scheme creditors who are not supported by crypto.com due to the jurisdictions in which they are located. The next question is about what alternative payout methods will be offered to creditors who are unable to use crypto.com. The current thinking is that the creditors who are not supported on crypto.com will be put through a separate and much more customized and bespoke process for KYC and distribution. And distributions are expected to be made in a combination of direct token transfers from the third-party custodian that we are working with, or fiat transfers. And this is subject to further review and case-by-case assessments. If the court were to agree with the creditor rep's position and require a scheme creditor meeting to resolve the deadlock, what steps will the scheme manager take to minimize delay? How likely does the scheme manager consider this scenario? Now, should this happen, we will organize a scheme creditors meeting without further delay. And in respect on how likely we consider this scenario, as previously mentioned, the application is presently before the court and sub judice. As such, we are unable to comment on the likely outcome of the merits of the application, given that the relevant legal procedures and proceedings are still ongoing. We understand that this may not be a satisfactory response. However, we do need to ensure that we adhere to the proper protocol in respect of ongoing legal proceedings. Next question. Regarding the appointment of a new CEO and enhancement of board governance, how does the scheme manager envision the board structure going forward? And will summaries of board meetings be shared with scheme creditors to improve transparency? The structure of the board is a fundamental aspect of corporate governance. This has been upset in the ongoing dispute with the CR, who in our view has not been working in the interests of creditors. We aim to enhance governance in the course through the appointment of a new CEO. Appointment of a new CEO to replace the previous CEO, and ultimately the replacement of the existing CR for the benefit of the creditors and the scheme. In terms of timeline, the replacement of the CR is unlikely until the conclusion of the application, as doing so may cause further delay to the application, and our primary objective, in line with creditor key priorities, is to ensure that this second distribution is done swiftly, safely, and compliantly. In respect of the summaries of board meetings, we will keep creditors informed of key board decisions that may impact their interests. Next question. Why is the scheme manager accusing the creditor representative of delaying the second distribution? This is, we believe that the creditor rep has caused obstruction to the second distribution, primarily because the CR knows that the vault platform has major security and compliance issues. This has been communicated to him and communicated to the court, which also means that it cannot realistically be used to support the second distribution. And despite the fact that the CR knows this, he continues to block the usage of the crypto.com option, which is a safer and more compliant option relative to using the vault platform for second distribution, which is not a realistic option at this stage. And despite multiple chases from the scheme manager, The CR has continually refused to explain or state his position on the matters necessary to allow the second distribution to take place. These matters are, firstly, the amount to distribute. Secondly, whether the creditor should be given the option of reselecting the token denomination to receive the second distribution in. We have a question from a creditor on how the legal proceedings, such as the application and the creditor rep's responses, are being funded. Let's address the cost of the application first. The scheme manager is entitled to fund legal counsel from company assets under the scheme, clause 14.5. Legal costs were expected as explained and set out in the latest quarterly update to be approximately $90,000. However, this estimate has since been outdated and superseded because subsequent events like the hearing adjournment and requirement for subsequent submissions have come into place, both directly as a result of the CR's objections and the need to clarify matters for the court. We are, of course, working with legal counsel to expedite this with as little financial impact as possible. Now, on the CR does not have the similar right under the scheme to fund such legal actions from and can only do so with the scheme manager and the board's approval pursuant to a separate clause in his CR contract. Despite not having the relevant authorizations, the CR pressured the company employees to reimburse him for such costs. We have already informed the board care team not to accede to such demands in the future without appropriate approval. Next question. And this is the question that has been addressed on prior town halls. Why has the scheme manager not called the scheme creditors meeting to replace the mayor yet? Are you willing to clearly commit to calling a scheme creditors meeting to replace the CR? As previously elaborated on town halls, it's not practical to call a scheme creditors meeting to replace the mayor CR. Because he likely has sufficient support to block a scheme creditor meeting vote for his removal. We are, however, assessing other options in respect of both removing the mayor CR and replacing him with another qualified creditor from the broader creditor body. Next question. If we call a scheme creditor meeting to replace the CR and it fails, what other options do we have to replace the creditor rep? The other options, broadly speaking, include removal on the basis of gross negligence or fraud or an application to court. And as previously indicated, we are presently assessing our options on alternative mechanisms. Ultimately, the alternative mechanism, if chosen, will not be. It's unlikely that we'll engage in these alternative mechanisms at least until the conclusion of the application, given that we want to prioritize the approval and sanction of the application and the second distribution to the court while avoiding further delay. From the same creditor, another question on the CR role. Now, if we're not able to replace the CR, are we able to add a second CR position? Can you please explain the steps involved and whether or not you'll be willing to go down that path? This will require an amendment to the scheme via the passing of a special resolution in an SCM. And given the degree of support that the creditor rep has, we view that this is unlikely to pass in a scheme creditors meeting, and as such, is unlikely to be a solution. A question that came in relatively recently from another creditor. Does Crow or any of its members have any sort of beneficial relationship with any third party currently or proposed to be involved, such as Crypto.com, law firms on hire, etc.? Answer is no. All ongoing relationships. I would even characterize them as relationships. With Crypto.com, all of it is on an arm's length basis, as is with law firms. And the last pre-submitted question, which is not in regards of the second distribution, would be, have there been any material updates or changes to the expected timelines or recovery estimates for e-liquid assets since the last quarterly report? The answer is no. All these processes are presently ongoing. The only material update would be in the flip vote dual processes before the AAA and Hyderabad. We've gotten new hearing dates in January, 12 January for the AAA case and 27 January for the Hyderabad case. We're making the relevant submissions to address the key matters outstanding in those ongoing processes. All right. Thank you for your patience. We have come to the end of the pre-submitted Q&A section. Which is bang on the dot, half an hour. I will use the remaining time to address live Q&A. The following creditor feedback on the way that previous live Q&As have been carried out, rather than letting creditors in from the waiting room one at a time, we'll be letting all creditors in all at the same time. We believe this will encourage a more active discussion. When you come into the waiting room, please ensure that you come in from the waiting room. Please ensure that you exit your your YouTube live stream, as this may cause echoes. And let's engage in a discussion. Put your hand up if you want to ask a question. Be considerate of other creditors when asking questions, and Jason and I will do whatever we can to address your questions during the rest of the time that we have on this town hall. Jason, you ready?
Yep, ready.
Thanks.
George, we should also apologize to Indian creditors. When we convened this, it was quite hard to find times to do this, and we just made a mistake, frankly. We thought we'll do it in the morning, which we can cover the US and Europe, but we just completely messed up and forgot that India would be quite inconvenient. So apologies to those creditors that this is not a convenient time for. It is live streamed, and for anybody that wants to contact us, please do so directly. We'd be happy to have one-on-one discussions and pick up any queries or comments directly.
Well, let's let all creditors in the waiting room in.
Hi guys. Fire away if you want to put your hand up or just start speaking. Either way, as long as we don't all talk across each other. Maybe go, because in the order it appears on my screen at least. Pete from San Diego. How are you? Do you have some questions, comments? Okay. Rawl C. No. Jason Laurel, Rob.
Yep. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hi. We can hear you.
You can hear who? You can hear Rob?
I can hear it just says
Okay.
Sounds like 38 BTC.
Jason,
How are you?
who's in control of your Telegram chat now?
I am.
Okay. You guys published a list of the top 20 creditors. They're in revealing the identity of the top 8 creditors that Damir claims are supporting him in his.
They finally started the meeting 40 minutes late.
come on, somebody turn off their mute your microphone, please, whoever that is. All right. Anyways, you guys published a list of the top 20 creditors, therein revealing the identity of the 8 creditors that that Demir is claiming support him in his bid against you. And you banned me for publishing the exact same list. Why is that? Banned me from the chat. Why is that?
Yeah, I've just been made aware of that, Rob. Let's pick that up separately, right? That's not something we necessarily need to talk about here on a town hall, but I'm happy to pick that up with you separately.
Well, I mean, it's the 8 people that are allegedly causing this whole delay. Why is that not something we could talk about? I mean, that's the genesis of this conversation.
Um, well, I haven't reviewed the messages yet, but I will, and then I'll come
Okay,
back to you
all
with
right,
what
forget the messages. Okay,
I,
forget the messages. You said you're in control of it. I don't know how you haven't reviewed the messages if you're in control of it. But all right, let's forget the messages. Um, are we allowed to discuss the 8 creditors, discuss here or in the Telegram chat, the 8 creditors that are allegedly supporting the bid to stop the distribution using crypto.com? Are we allowed to discuss them? Meaning, are we allowed to use their names and
I
say, go
I would
ahead.
say the information's public. You're right. Like as long as you're only disclosing information that was already disclosed in the court orders, I'd say that that's acceptable. But as you said a few times there, allegedly, right? You're not in possession of the information to know whether or not those 8 creditors are or are not supporting. So, it becomes a personal accusation, if you like. And I don't think the forum is for creditors to make accusations against other creditors generally.
Okay,
So I
Jason.
think,
All right, Jason. Well, you just got, and listen, man, this is starting to become kind of ridiculous. So, look, you guys just got through saying that you believe that Demir has the support to thwart any challenge we have the
mhm,
scheme meeting. Well, I mean that's an accusation. Okay, you're not accusing anybody particularly,
correct.
but you
That's the
also
that
did, but
that's
you
the
also
difference.
let me I didn't cut you off. Let me finish. But you also released, all right. All right, whatever, man. Review the messages. I didn't even say what you're saying. I mean, it's a straw man. I didn't say what I asked. Who is creditor number 1? Who is creditor number 7? And who is creditor number 8? I asked that with a name, with a name. That, and I don't care about being censored. I'm not like Bill, bitching about being censored. The only reason I'm even bringing it up is because it shows dishonesty on since you're the one in control, which you just said you are. It shows dishonesty on your part, and I hate to say that because I've tried to support you and crypto.com, but man, it's really this is what's happening. This is what's happening. That's why there's not many people on the call, and why nobody wants to speak up because everybody's starting to think it's just a big fraud. It's just like it's a contrived fight, for whatever reason, nobody knows why, And now we hear, I'm not trying to change the subject here, and not trying to divert here, but Malcolm's cutting his own checks, overpayment. Well, where's the criminal prosecution of that? I mean, that doesn't sound like something. Oh, enforcement, needs to be sought out. No, that sounds like a criminal act. If you wrote yourself a check out of the scheme funds for all $10 million of allotted scheme funds, well, that's a criminal act. That's not something we should just go chase you around with, in the courts for. That's criminal. So where's the criminal prosecution? And how did he have access to the funds to do that without your approval? Those are separate questions.
So
Why not?
just to deal with the first point, Joseph,
Yeah.
leave that with me, right? We've been wrestling with that Telegram group, and we do now have control. Um, I will review the messages and then come back to you. I think just publishing the public information is perfectly
Well,
acceptable, and on the basis of what you've just described, I think it's okay to ask questions. Um,
I happen to have the
but
screenshots of the messages right here. I mean,
let's not
why do I have to
let's
read it
not
with? I'm not trying to share. I'm not trying to share them with you because I know it's fucking. I know it's. I'm sorry. Excuse my language. I know it's a problem for you to. Listen. Yeah. There's nothing to review. Just unban me
Joseph,
to show your
just
honesty.
give me a second, right?
They won.
Like that. What you're saying you're doing there is arguing my case, right, against what the CR is doing. So it wouldn't be in my interest to necessarily prevent that sort of communication, right? So give me
Yeah.
some credit that you know that I'm not reviewing every message, right? The Vault care team is still there. They've been given instructions about how to deal with things, and then when it's been escalated like that, it then comes to my attention, and we'll review it, and we'll come back to you with what we think is appropriate. Okay, and let
Well,
me
as of
just
right
do.
now, it cost me 2 Bitcoin that I've sent off to a guy that's supposed to be allocating that over to Bill's group just to sue you guys or whatever he's going to do with it. I don't know. But out of my whatever, you know what I got, out of what I got, it's gone now. 2 Bitcoin. You got,
Sorry,
so I
I
mean, you
don't
should
follow
have
that
got it
that
really.
bit.
I mean, the next is gonna be 10 Bitcoin. I mean, and you're gonna have a real problem on your hands when you got somebody out here like me that's got the resources I have. You don't know. Well, I mean, you don't know what I got. I talked to you, whatever that guy's name was that used to work for you, because he knows the problems I can cause for you guys, and I'm not trying
Sorry,
to because I'm trying to be on your side and
yeah,
because
ju-
I don't trust. That doesn't make no it makes no sense what Demir's doing with his H. I don't even believe he has eight HVCs. I don't even believe it anymore. It's really I don't know if it's if man I don't want to get conspiratorial here, but it is it's all a big conspiracy. I don't know
it's
if
not.
you're in on it. If you're on it, George is on it. Look at George over there. Look like an innocent guy. Looks nice. Math probably major in college. Who's all in on this scam, man? I mean, everything's like somebody said, 3.5 years later. I don't think it's been 3.5 years, but damn, man, it's been a long time. And then it's just one delay after another, and there's absolutely no reasoning. And some of the things you throw out there don't make any sense. Like when you say, like, we can't tell you how much that we recovered from counterparty A because we don't want them to know how much we're keeping back for. They know how much they paid you. I know everybody said this on the chat group. This is an objection to your reasoning. They know how much they paid you, and they know how much you're allocating towards distribution, which means with a simple calculation. I mean, it's pretty damn simple. Even my 3-year-old boy could do it. You can figure out how much we recovered. Or how much they
Joseph,
paid.
that
So I mean,
just
what? I
let
mean,
me try.
go ahead.
I just want to try and there's a lot that you keep throwing in there, and I don't want to
There's a
forget
lot
it
going
all, right?
on.
To address. Going back to the Malcolm point, we've written to him for the handover, we've written to him for the salary that he paid. He was in control until the day that he was terminated, and then the morning he was terminated, he paid himself basically. Is that criminal? Not really. Would it get the attention of the Singapore police? No. Um, at the moment, we've asked for the return of those funds. That's all.
How much is it?
Um, not much, like
Yeah.
a partial month's salary, right? So the day he was terminated is when it ended, but he paid himself for the whole month of that period,
Okay.
basically.
All right. That's better than damn,
Yeah.
man.
So
George paid it like man, like the guy cut himself $1 million check.
no, no. Um, I'm trying to think of what else was in there to address.
There's lots of stuff. I mean, the creditors in mass are revolting. They're starting to believe that it's a conspiracy between Kroll. When I say it, I'm talking about the fight. It's contrived. It's not real. It's a way of delaying the distribution or even stopping the distribution. Now, let me ask you a question because there's really no specific question
mm,
formally because honestly, you can't answer any of them. Let me ask you something. In the CPA arbitration, okay, how about that? I know you can't address that particularly, but in any arbitration, could we be held accountable to the other party? In other words, could they say we owe them $80 million?
there's no counterclaim in this particular arbitration.
Okay,
We
so
could
they
be
can't
accountable. We could be accountable for costs.
cost. Okay,
It-
well, I mean, you guys have ran up a pretty big tab on cost. They could say anything. They
well,
could say $10 million.
we could be accountable for their costs in theory.
Yeah, I understand. $10 million in cost plus some interest or something. I don't know. So now that this money is just sitting there in a bank account, ripe for the pickings, I mean, it might be depleted even more. I mean, otherwise it'll be in our bank account, and guess what? I'm not handing any more of my money to the CPA, no matter what some court says. They can't claw it back from me. So right now it's just sitting there. I mean, it looks like a good reason to leave the money there, like either anticipating or even manufacturing a loss, in some arbitration that actually has been over for a long time, which is acknowledged by staff there. It's been over for a long time, and there's still no decision. I mean, the tribunal, I'm not an expert, you are, well, it seems like we have the longest running arbitration in the history of Hong Kong, the longest running the decision-making time in the history of Hong Kong. What's really, and it's all supposed to be some bank-to-bank loan. I mean, what's really, I mean, so how long, can I ask you this? How long has the arbitration, the tribunal been, this is specific to the CPA, so I don't know if you can answer it. You probably can't, so I'm not even gonna ask. Okay, what's the typical time?
I can answer generally that,
Yeah.
arbitrations in Hong Kong, an order following the completion of the proceedings and can be anything from 3 months to, unfortunately, almost 12 months. It
12
does
months to make a
vary.
decision?
Sorry?
12 months to make a decision on a
Yeah.
bank-to-bank loan that's probably
Six,
what, like, 4 pieces of paper, 5 pieces of paper long. I
well,
mean,
I think
really?
that's an oversimplification, and in all of those proceedings, the counterparty did everything they could to complicate it and to delay it, frankly. Um,
Well, if that's an oversimplification, well, then your portrayal of this loan from Town Hall number 3, I think it was, where you said that it's a simple bank-to-bank loan. We gave them the money. They should give it back to us. I mean, that's even more of an oversimplification. So I'm just going off, I mean, I'm working
no,
off what you give me.
I don't disagree with you, but they've raised all sorts of different issues along the way that have to be dealt with, and that what has delayed things. But yeah, I hope we can get a decision soon. Really, that's all I can say, and it's now been some time since we can expect one.
Okay. Jason,
Yes.
let's get down to reality here. This delay, just I put this in the Telegram chat. If you haven't reviewed the messages, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, but it's real simple. Just in this delay has cost these HVCs, these eight,
Mm,
7 or 8 HVCs, if they really exist. Who knows if they exist? Nobody knows if counterparty A exists. It could be a completely fictitious character holding basically a vote against us. We don't know who it is. But anyways, a counterparty. I'm talking about party A. It's
well,
creditor number 2.
Joseph, let me
But
just
anyways,
stop you there just for 1 second. So, there was an application submitted by the CR to remove me as scheme manager. It came with what he believed to be the support of, the requisite 25%. It was more
I
than
know what it
eight
came with.
people.
I posted it in the Telegram chat.
Yeah,
I know what
yeah,
it came with. I posted in the Telegram chat along with the
okay,
creditor initials, along with their initials and their creditor
right.
number. I know exactly
So,
what
and
it came
we
with.
we
In
then
fact,
independently,
I'm the one that told you about it.
correct,
Well,
yeah, and then
I'm one of the ones that told you about
we then independently verified with some of those people that they did in fact support that, which we needed to do to check whether it was a valid claim. Not all, and not enough for it to be a
it. To
valid
exist.
submission.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All right. All right. Well, okay. All right. All right. Well, let me continue my
sure.
stupid reasoning here then. Well, let's just go with one of the creditors, Mr. Craig Hamill, number 1. Well, it seems like this delay is costing them about $1,100 a day in interest, in a 4% interest rate, which is guaranteed in the market on his portion of on the distribution. It's cost him 1,100. I don't care, even if, I mean, he's not Elon Musk. I mean, I don't care how rich you are. Who wants to just spend $1,100 a day for what? To keep the Vol platform open? The very platform that screwed all of us. It makes absolutely no sense. It's illogical. You might as well say that the sky is down and the ground is up. I mean, it makes no sense. So we're talking about $150,000 or so. I don't know the exact dates when the arbitration finished, or I mean, let's just cut that by a third. $100,000 or so. This guy has spent. He lost. He's lost money is
Yep.
spent money. He's lost just this one creditor to keep the Vol platform open.
Yeah,
Uh, Tell me,
look, I agree with you, and I can't rationalize it either. I mean, and on the other side, the conspiracy theories that, we're doing it for some other ulterior motive is just not factually correct either. We haven't been able to get the CR's agreement. We had no option after an extended effort to do so, to where we couldn't get its agreement, but to go to court as the quickest, simplest way of resolving this. But we're paid a fixed fee. We're doing an incredible amount of extra work just to make sure we can get this distribution made as quickly as possible. absolutely no financial interest for us. We're just trying to do the right thing for creditors. So on his side, I haven't been able to fathom what it is that drives the decision making on their side at
Okay,
all.
well, I'm asking you to speculate.
Um, I've struggled to explain it honestly, Joseph. Like the list of complaints that the CR has raised against me, you've all read, and they're all, I mean, they're not material in the scheme of things, right? It's, a small thing here or a small thing there. Nothing that's material or going to make a difference to an outcome for creditors. And I argue that they're completely invalid, and I've responded to them, but none of them are in the millions or material. So it can't be those. It's about Demir effectively getting control of the platform, and I don't know why that's important to him or those other creditors that support him. Why
Well,
it's
what could
important
it
that
be
Vold
about?
make the distribution. It's a perfectly valid
Well,
alternative method, crypto.com, and Demir admitted as much to the judge in the recent hearing. He had no concerns about crypto.com's ability to make the transfer.
yeah, I hear you. I agree. I agree. I read the submissions. Now, what benefit? I'm asking you to speculate. What benefit is there to gaining control of the Vault platform?
I honestly don't know, other than being stubborn and wanting to be perceived as right, justify, his own role and position. But I really, I don't have anything beyond that.
What would be the creditors as a whole? The creditors as a whole. What would be our? Let's just say. Let's just say in Demir's perfect world, he removed you and replaced you with another Demir, and they decide to open up a new business.
Mm.
Well, first of all, I guess that's possible. I don't know if it's possible. I mean, I guess it is. I mean, it sounds like George was saying
It's
that
still
as of
that would
right
still
now,
that would still
it's
be
all too,
possible before the end of the scheme, which is what,
okay.
September next year, I
What's to
think.
stop them from and what would stop them from depositing? Let's just say that we recovered whatever any number you want to put out there, 200 million more. That's 200 plus 89. That's 290. Let's just say 300 million. Now you got
Mm.
300 million sitting in the bank. Not wouldn't be sitting in the bank now because Demir decided to invest it and get the yield off of it.
Yep.
What's to stop them from using the yield? Stealing the money, just stealing the money outright.
Well,
But I'll tell you what, creditors won't stand for that. There's a lot of creditors that won't stand for that. But let's just say that they don't steal the money outright. They just decided to delay the
yep,
$300 million final distribution for whatever reason, and they extend the scheme indefinitely. And they use the yield to support their new business. And
yep,
they all give themselves the eight HVCs, all give themselves a high salary. Let's just say $400,000 a year per HVC. And they got hire their own lawyers. And
mm.
their own lawyers, are overpaid.
Joseph,
Pills.
I can
Let's
answer
just
that.
start with that. What's to stop that? What's to
The
stop it?
the new scheme manager. So there has to be a scheme manager. They have to be a licensed insolvency professional. Look, the person that Demir put up, I know, Solomon Tan, used to work for me, for like 6 or 7 years, right? And, he has obligations personally to the Singapore court and the creditors. So he would be a check and balance on providing the governance and oversight to prevent what you're talking about. And I think that he would. So, the real conspiracy theories about this
Well,
only ever happened when
it sounds to me like if the HHCCs. No, this is no, 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 no. Listen, just because he could put forward Jesus Christ, to replace you, and then as soon as you're gone and Jesus Christ is in there, they get together and they replace Jesus Christ with the
that
mirror number two.
there always has to be a
If they can
licensed
replace you with
scheme
Jesus Christ,
manager. There always has to
well,
be
we
a
know there's
scheme
a lot of
manager
dirty ones out
that's
there.
sure. The one that he put forward, I can attest that he wouldn't be able to. He would prevent anything and act
What
accordingly.
if I told you that the plan is? What if I told you that the plan is to get you out with Solomon, and then 6 months from now get Solomon out with Demir number two?
Well,
What's to stop that?
nothing. But the only
See,
check and
it's a red herring. You mean,
yeah,
Solomon's so trustworthy. Well, Jason's so trustworthy. Well, let's get rid of Jason. Okay, well, Solomon,
the
he's so trustworthy. Well,
the
let's get rid of
the
Solomon.
only check and balance on that is that there always needs to be a scheme manager and a license, and that person has to be a licensed professional in Singapore that's responsible to the court.
Yeah, there's lots of licensed professionals that are in jail right now.
Sure. Joseph,
Anyway,
can we
I'm not
take a breather
accusing
perhaps?
you of anything.
No, I know. And thank you for all the questions.
No.
It's great.
I think every creditor on this call, I think every creditor on the call wants to hear the answer to these questions.
Sure. Well, I've tried to give my answer.
Shut me down. It does what?
Hey, I'm not shutting you down.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm asking you, what's to stop them? What's to
I
stop
told you.
Premier?
I
Let's
gave
just
you
say
my.
that they're. I'm not even talking about getting you out. I'm not talking about you getting out.
But I gave you my
Can
answer.
they invest the 300 million recovery final distribution? Can they invest it and generate yield, and then do what they please with the yield?
No, the yield is for the
Why not?
creditors.
What?
That's an asset of the creditors to be distributed to the creditors. All assets
Well, how much is
of
allocated
Vault,
how much is allocated for the new business?
they
Who
could,
sets the salaries?
they could before next, I think September is the end of the scheme. They could invest it in a new business. That would be possible with full approval of the board. I think that's extremely unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah.
But
All
any
the
yield
businesses,
generated is for the benefit of creditors.
you know, if somebody would have said, they are the creditors. They're the only creditors that matter. Seem like. And look, if somebody would have said 3.5 years ago, oh man, this is all gonna be tied up in the courts 3.5 years from now. It's another Mount Gox. While we're all watching while we're all watching the crypto influencers and putting our money involved, no one would have believed it. So it is unlikely, or it could be unlikely. It doesn't mean it's not possible. We're living our truth. The truth is that the unlikely has become the reality of our day. So just saying it's unlikely is not they can. So your answer is they can
Yes,
invest, they can kick you
that's
out,
correct.
they can put in somebody else, and then they still have control of that position. If that position gets out of line, if Solomon says no, we shouldn't invest this money or use this money for the new business, well, bye Solomon, let's find a new guy. And we so and they can all be. And who sets the now? The other question I asked was who sets the salaries of the let's say they expand the board. They got the HVCs on the new board.
The I think, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the board uh, could set salaries and incur expenditure. It's not prescribed in the scheme, so.
So the board can install their own guy, in fact not guys, they can install themselves, all 8 HVCs at the new board and set their own salaries at $1 million a year. That's possible?
That would be possible.
Yeah, great. Oh man, great. I wish we would have known this before we voted on the scheme. I mean, so I'm just trying to discern what possible use is keeping the Vol platform alive. Everybody hates Vol. Everybody that has a brain, everybody wants their money back except for 8 guys. Yeah, well, and you say, and I appreciate you speculating as much as you did. It's the most I've ever heard you speculate and give a straight answer. I mean, I'm not saying you don't give straight answers, but it's you kick Jason out, guys. Here, listen to that. You kick Jason out, and what do we get? We get a board of 8 guys giving themselves $1 million a year, holding on to all of our money to start a new business, and we can't do shit about it. So there you go. All right, I'm done.
All right, thanks, Joseph. I might just try and tick off some of these questions that have been popped into the chat here. But feel free.
I have a question before you pop into the chat.
Okay. I know.
So what's the year-to-date expenditure that you guys have done?
That we have done?
Means in the salaries and all the stuff. What's the year-to-date expenditure?
I mean that we provide information in the updates to creditors on a quarterly basis and
Where?
for the expenditure.
Which date? On what was the last date that you have sent an email? Because I don't see an email.
Sure. George, do you have that?
Yeah, I think the last quarterly update was approximately a month ago. actually exactly a month ago
Date.
on the 16th of
I
November.
need the exact date.
And
No,
if you give
I
us your,
don't see any
if you give
16.
us, Anand, if
I
you give us
don't
your
I
email
don't
address,
see
we'll resend it to you. If you want to,
the last
or
email that I have
send
is on
us.
12th December, then 8th December, and then September. Do you guys have a figure in hand?
No,
No, we'll
You are
provide it
you are
we'll
doing
provide you
this
the latest
call.
quarterly
You should
update.
have the figures in hand.
no, and then we also
No,
don't
you should have
disclose.
figures in hand when you are doing this call.
No, we should not, Anand, and we also don't disclose the actual expenditure
Why?
incurred for the
Why?
reasons we've mentioned this many
Why
times.
you don't have the numbers? Why you don't have the
Anand,
numbers handy when you are doing this
can I
call?
can I answer? We don't disclose the actual expenditure incurred
Sure.
anyway. It's on a rolling quarterly basis because we don't want to give that information to counterparty A because it gives them the ammunition to know how funded we are in our fight with them to recover funds for creditors. If they know that we have $200,000 left or $5 million left, it makes a very big difference. So we've deliberately never disclosed the actual expenditure. We give creditors enough information on a quarterly basis to give them an idea. And it's part of what Joseph was asking earlier. Well, counterparty A can work it out because they know how much they gave us and know how much is left. They don't, Joseph, because of exactly what we've been doing. They can't work it out. There's not enough information in what
So
we
in
give
the
to
quarterly,
creditors for
so in
them
the
to be able to
quarterly
do that.
updates that you provide, so the quarterly update that you provide, are those real numbers or are those not the real numbers?
They're estimated numbers and they're real, they're close, but they're not the exact expenditure incurred. It's an
How
estimate of what's
close?
going to
How
get
close we are
incurred
talking about? Okay, so
within
those are
within
not real numbers. Then
they're real
that's the
an
false
ant,
numbers.
they're estimated numbers on a quarterly basis, which would be within 5 to 10% of actual expenditure incurred. It varies because they're estimates for the next
So,
3 months. They're not the exact amount incurred for the last 3 months.
let's say your estimated year to date numbers, let's say is 5 million in your reports. Okay. Don't you think that counterparty A will know about these numbers?
Yes, but they don't have the full period,
Then
and they don't have the exact um, actual amounts that we've expended. And if you can't work it out, they can't work it out,
take the
and that's and
ballpark.
that's and
Take
that's in your
take
that,
take the
that's in your
ballpark
interest.
number. Take the ballpark number itself. Take the ballpark number itself that you have presented. So counterparty or anyone else in the world knows what are you spending. So we need the actual
They
numbers
don't.
first. Secondly, okay, let's say that you have spent like $5 million in salary and whatnot. How much have you collected from all these counterparties?
That's been disclosed to creditors in our
I'm
updates.
also running a business, so I know what is my intake and what is my outtake. So
Sure,
are you guys doing that?
of course,
And
and
in
that's
and
been
in
disclosed to
3.5 years,
creditors.
you're not able to collect. I'm also a creditor. That's why I'm on this call. And I don't get emails. That's why I'm on this call.
Can you drop into the chat box your email, Annette, because we can make sure
No,
that you do.
let's not do that. Anand, email us directly, dl.vol@crow.com, and we'll respond to you.
Can you
It
can you
sounds like you're
paste
having
that?
issues with receiving emails. We'll get it to you. I'm gonna drop our email address into the
Yes.
chat. Drop us an
Yes.
email, and we'll investigate why you're not receiving our emails. Some creditors have had issues with this, and we have successfully resolved it with them. To answer your question, Anand, we have recovered more than 90 million US dollars worth of recoveries from third parties, and we are trying to get that distributed via crypto.com.
So
And
in 3.5 years, you have only collected $90 million.
Yes,
Wow, man. Wow. And the questions that were raised by the previous gentleman, those were very good questions. And with that, these $90 million or whatever $1 million, they will go in like this. and someone was saying it's a scam. I believe this is a scam.
A
And
scam
my
by who?
hard-earned money
Anand.
is you guys, all of you guys, Darshan and all. My money is stuck there, and I'm waiting for my money.
Darshan's no longer involved, other than his involvement in the recovery of that 90 million against counterparty A. We're getting paid a fixed fee each month of $10,000 an annum. We've done many millions dollars worth of work in this administration so far, and we're only paid $10,000 a month. It's not a scam for my benefit. I can assure you of that.
As a creditor, I'm not getting any money from last 3.5 years. I got only like 30% around maybe like two or 2.5
Correct.
years back. So
Yes.
for me as a creditor whose money is stuck, it's a scam.
Well,
And
we've
I
got,
don't have a visibility of my next distribution.
and that's what we're working to resolve right now.
And from last 3-4 months, and we are getting so many troubled emails that you guys are fighting like schoolgirls.
Children, like children. I get it,
Yeah.
and it's very frustrating.
We are all educated. Okay, I see some of them are scammers here, but still, we are all educated. And my last question of the day, this CR, how much funds he has invested in Vault? Do you know? I don't know because I have no bandwidth to read all your emails, like all your
I
statements.
think
So I want to
it's
know.
okay for us to disclose that, right, George? Demir himself has disclosed that previously, hasn't he?
Yes, I don't have it, however, off the top of my head.
But it's 3.5 million or something like that.
I think
Rough.
you'll be right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to that,
So for $3.5 million, he has stuck like $90 million.
Sorry,
Wow.
no, his exposure is 3.5 or thereabouts.
That's what I'm saying. For his $3.5 million,
Yes,
$90 million is stuck.
yes.
Wow.
Hopefully not for much longer. And then, the next hearing's in January 19, and we hope that very shortly thereafter we can make those distributions.
And is there a possibility to get, like, I don't know, I have never been to court. So is there any way that we can hear that court proceeding? Is it live
George,
or
last time
I don't know?
was it streamed? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. No, the previous time it's not going was not streamed. We haven't received information on whether the next one is going to be streamed or not.
But last time though, George, I think creditors that wanted to appear were able to register themselves and therefore effectively access the stream, right?
That's right. It wasn't streamed to the general public, but creditors who wanted to participate could and did. Some of them did let us know in advance. We provided their names to the court,
Okay.
and those creditors were allowed to participate.
So let us make sure this communication issue is fixed, and with you, get you those reports. If you
Sure.
have any questions from them, we're happy to deal with them, and then we can make sure that you get that information about the next hearing as well.
And let's say if I am in Singapore, I can participate in person in the court, right?
Let me take that one.
Yeah.
Anand, at this stage, we don't know, right? The court has yet to provide us with a hearing date. It has yet to
No,
provide us with logistics.
with the last, what was the last hearing? Like, general public is allowed or not allowed?
It was not.
Okay.
At the last hearing was done solely via video conference, and the court specifically
Okay.
required effectively a pre-registration from creditors who wanted to dial into the hearing. So we asked creditors who wanted to participate to send us their names and emails, and we submitted that to the court.
Okay, fine.
All right.
But
Thank you.
this is going down the hill, and it's way as a creditor, I don't think I will ever get my money back.
The next distribution, George, is roughly how much? Percentage-wise for an ant?
About another 30%, give or take, depending on whether he's on the PRT or the BRT.
Yeah. So it varies a little bit, the crypto movement, which is down a bit. So 25 to 30% an ant is what you can expect. And we are hopeful that the court will, allow us to make that distribution towards the end of January.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you, Anand. I'll just try and catch up with some of these messages that are chatted here, and then we'll continue with the sort of open questions. I don't know why CEO is necessary if Jason's running the company. They're all fighting with each other. Well, yeah, that's unfortunately 72940. Very obvious to everybody now. A CEO was necessary at the outset because there was the possibility of a new business, there was the distributions, and they were much more involved in the distributions through the Vault platform in distribution number 1. And then over time, there were problems with the platform. So fixing those problems, which, weren't done really to the satisfaction of me, at least. So that there was a role for the scheme, for the CEO. My own view now is that if crypto.com, and we'll get to this, I'm sure there'll be other questions about the new CEO. If crypto.com is successfully approved and we can make distributions outside the Vold platform, the Telegram chat group is under control. Vold Care does have a role in administering the detail of people's accounts and dealing with, account related type queries, but there's very little else for a CEO to do in terms of running a business. And that's why I've been saying that, somebody else like me is perhaps more appropriate, because the key focus is on the collection of the illiquid assets and providing better governance than what we're having to endure at the moment. But we can talk about that shortly. BlockFi, you're sort of right, and BlockFi went better than this, obviously. Well, this has not been a great example of how to conduct these things, and we're enduring that. I wish it was different, but the problems that we've had at the board have been, a key problem. BlockFi Vold actually was just the claims administration agent, so not the scheme manager or liquidator, if you like, in control of the whole thing. Vold has a business in the US where we just handle the claims, adjudicate them and make distributions. So yes, I'm sure we did that very well. It's a shame so few creditors showed up for this. That's not necessarily new. We don't tend to get a lot of people here. A lot of people rely upon the live stream. 5, 10, or maybe 20 at one point we've had, but it's open and available to everybody. And Ant's raised the problem of the India-friendly time zone. I'm very sorry about that. That was a mistake on Ant. On our behalf, it was certainly not deliberate at all. We usually do it late our evenings. Because I'm in Australia at the moment, I was trying to do it at a different time, and when we recalibrated it, we messed up. But we are available to reconvene with Indian creditors one-on-one or on an ad hoc basis anytime. Gary, regarding the upcoming distribution, Q1, yep, we will have the choice. Will we have the choice? That's subjective at the moment. Also, of the 88.9, can you let us know how we calculate our share? So we preferred to give you a choice. The creditor rep did not. He has not engaged subsequently to explain why he doesn't want that. And now that presently is with the court to decide whether we can give creditors a choice, but it was our preference to allow that. If we're not able to, then the distribution would be made in the original choice that you made for the first distribution, which is one of those 4 types of crypto. The 88.9, and George, I don't know if you recalculated for recent pricing, but as we said before, it represents roughly a 25 to 30% share, depending upon whether you're variable track or.
Yeah, I think what Gary was asking is basically how does each creditor know how much they're gonna get from that distribution, and Gary, that'll be down to the ultimately whether we can actually give people a choice, because that will change the outcome of the rebalancing, because we need to secure different tokens. So that's not something that we can provide you now.
We went backwards. Oh, so football posters, I got to see finally on the side, and now it's covered up by bed. So I got in there and I got to see it.
Okay, I think that was not meant for us. Was there supposed to be Bold Point 2, Darshan's new venture? I mean, Darshan is out there trying to restart a new business. It's got nothing to do with this. You know, he was effectively asked to leave by creditors as a part of the restructuring, and he agreed to do so. So he then went to go and, you know, start something new himself. That's a little different to Vold Point 2. There was the ability for Vold to commence a new business and then share any profits generated from that new business with creditors. That hasn't happened. That was the key, one of the key reasons for the CEO role, was to drive a new business. The first CEO, Nanda, we had wasn't, and with the creditor rep, to be fair, it certainly wasn't ever going to be me starting a new crypto business. We never received any proposal in relation to that. And then Malcolm was brought in. Partly it was for that purpose. Certainly in the early days, he never put forward a business plan to the board for consideration. And so that hasn't yet happened. And it seems extremely unlikely that it would happen now. I mean, if I am the scheme manager, it would be highly unlikely that I would be approving a new business at this point in time, frankly. Confused and don't know who to trust. I get that. Happy to have more of a dialogue on that. A brief in the Singapore Court and Retained Counsel, absolutely. 72940. The judge did stipulate that he does require an affidavit to be filed, so it would need to be in that form, and you would need counsel to do that. And anybody that would like to is more than possible to do that. Jason Worrell, is that the cost this year? 339998. In answering Anne's earlier question, could be. I mean, the fixed cost is the CEO salary, which was effectively 10,000, or slightly less actually for Malcolm. 10,000 for the creditor rep and 10,000 for us. There's some fixed costs for the Vold Care team of around 5 people. There's some various statutory, and compliance type costs necessarily incurred, and AWS and IT type costs to keep the Vold platform maintained. And then really the bulk of the costs are legal fees in relation to counterparty A primarily, and FlipVault, some costs. Is there a regular accounting that's provided to the court? No. Yeah, as I said, we've been through this over the years with creditors. We do deliberately just provide that estimate. It is close to actual, and we recalibrate as necessary to make sure creditors have a fair view on what has been spent, on what it has been spent on. We don't aggregate that, and we don't want to give more information than that, because we don't want counterparty A to be able to calculate exactly what we have left, because if we get a ruling against them now, it may be that we need to enforce that ruling. That enforcement process could be complicated and difficult in many jurisdictions. And if they know how much funding we have available, because we disclose exactly how much we've spent, then that would be a weakness, and potentially inhibit how much we can recover from creditors, because they can basically just overspend us. The 90 was 90, not 19, so it was 88.9. Oh, George has clarified that. Why is there a CEO?
I think the answer to that, what the question of why is there a
Yeah,
CEO is because it's a scheme requirement.
yeah. Yeah, Jason Worrell's right about the next hearing. It's really just on submissions rather than an actual hearing. But let's see what the judge says. I'll talk about the CEO shortly, Jason. We can have a chat. Names of all creditors to the court. Well, that's been answered as well. The court asked for that was the way they wanted to do it. A movement to bring Darshan back? Absolutely not. No, Darshan is completely out of the board. I asked him to help remove Malcolm recently because that's a shareholder's job. But for a new CEO now, we'll need to make sure Darshan agrees with that. But I see no issue. He will agree. And he was involved directly in the counterparty A recovery process because the loan was personally in his name, not DeFi payment. So he had to be the person directly at the front of those proceedings and as a witness. But bringing him back in any other form, categorically no.
Jason,
Yes.
Jason, can we submit? What do we need? Do we need to submit an affidavit? Can we submit affidavits to you and then you use staff counsel to submit them on our behalf?
No, you'd need to engage your own counsel, unfortunately, Joseph,
Why is that?
because the counsel for the scheme manager can't represent another creditor in submitting his affidavit. And if there was cost involved, then that would be creditors' funds being used for one particular creditor's agenda. So it just doesn't work, unfortunately.
Okay.
I can make some recommendations if you like about lawyers that will.
Is it possible in your submission to submit to the judge a copy of these town halls, like a video copy to see so you can see the creditor
No,
discontent?
no, I don't think he would allow that.
Even a
It,
transcript, but I mean that would be a pain to read through.
I don't believe so. We can check with our lawyers, but I don't think the judge is going to be, frankly, have the time or interest to go through that sort of detail. But
How does the judge? Let's just say this judge is out playing golf somewhere. I don't know what they do over there in Singapore, but let's just say he's out playing golf somewhere. How does the judge know that we're not happy?
well, I'm sure he knows that.
How?
It's obvious.
I mean, in front of him, he has millions of dollars worth of creditors, represented by 8 people, saying, "Oh, we love this process, dragging it all out." And then here we are over here, we see this Matt McGovern guy, Mick McGovern, whatever, McGiverin, whatever his damn name
Yeah.
is, submitted an affidavit. So he's got one creditor, to
I
submit.
don't think he did he, George? Or no other affidavits, or were there?
Yeah, in a previous submission early on in the scheme, but
Oh, earlier in the scheme, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So how does the judge know the level of creditor discontent? How does he know that 90% of us, more than that, 99% of us want to get rid of the Vault platform altogether? Let's just go with 80%. All right, 80% of us want to get rid of the Vault platform altogether and proceed with the crypto.com distribution. How does he know that?
Well, I think he doesn't know that because it's only a handful of people turn up here. We even recently did do that Google poll. Jason Worrell did that Google poll for removing the creditor rep, and we didn't get a huge volume. We certainly didn't get 80% of anything. We got, in the hundreds of people, responding to that. So the judge for all of that, Joseph, he would say, go and hold a scheme meeting so I can properly get a view from creditors on what their position is on these things. In terms of him knowing that creditors are frustrated, it's obvious, and B, in our submissions we talk about, why are we doing this, and the fact that creditors are extremely unhappy and just want this distribution. We need it to be made.
I've seen your submissions. I don't see I don't see anything about the creditors being extremely unhappy. I mean, I understand that he should know that, obviously, because it's been so long, but maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what he knows. I mean, I haven't seen anything in your submissions regarding, creditor sentiment.
Well, because it's just that sentiment, right? You know, um, I encourage you to submit an affidavit. I can give you some recommendations if that's helpful for counsel.
Well, that gives one or two people an in, but the general body of creditors don't have any way of getting their voice heard. I'm just trying to see if there's a way, if there's some way. What if, I mean, so are you allowed to pay for one counselor out there that can represent anybody wants to, and then we could email a notarized affidavit to that one. Let's just say it's
Yeah,
John Smith. John Smith based out of Singapore. We could, all of us creditors can just go to our local bank, get an affidavit, notarized, emailed. All of us can be represented by John Smith. One count, and so he was going to charge us $10,000, just to submit to the court. Probably not, but let's just say it's that much. So we can get like 1,000 submissions, 1,000 affidavits in front of the judge. I'm not saying we'd get 1,000, but right now we
mm,
have zero, and we just have a judge that seems like everybody thinks the judge doesn't care. Well, I mean, what does he have to care about? He doesn't really know. He just sees legalese in front of him. Does the scheme permit this? Does the scheme not permit that? Everything's going according to plan. Well, it's not. So it's Vald. Are you allowed to get to hire using the scheme?
no,
A counselor, just one, and that's, let's just say
no.
no, you're not.
I'll check with our counsel, but my answer would be no, because that's all creditors' funds being used for. I mean, let me check if we made it available to all creditors, but
Just one counselor. I mean, that's all it take. But I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So let's just
yeah, I don't think
move
it's
on. Did you say
that simple.
that Demir? I heard George earlier, but he broke up. Sorry about the internet connection. Is Demir allowed to use creditor funds for his legal rep?
No.
So do you know how he's funding his legal representation against you?
Um, he did try to get Vold to pay for his legal rep, and when I became aware of it, I blocked that.
Let me translate that. So previously he was using Bald to pay for the legal rep, and now it's no longer happening.
Correct.
Okay.
For the same reasons I just described to you, that one creditor can't benefit from all creditors' funds effectively. It's an individual thing, whether a creditor wants to submit, and he submitted as a creditor in those proceedings.
So I know you like to throw out there, this late January date, but let's just get down to reality a little bit. It seems like there's submission after submission, and then there's a delay, giving creditors time to set up their Crypto.com accounts, which they already should have. It sounds to me like, I mean, what are we really talking? If there is a distribution, I don't even believe there will be anymore. I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 on it, but let's just say there is. If there is a distribution, somehow, some way, God comes down and says, give them a distribution. It's really what's a real, like, reality is more like around April. That's what I'm looking at.
No, I mean, if the court rules for us, February, I mean, if it's January 19, then we need to wait for his judgment. By the time we get that and we get ready, we will be as ready as possible. It will be in February.
All right. So let's say
if he rules against us and says no, you must use Vold, then there would need to be a process to ensure Vold works, like an audit of the code, basically, and that could take 1, 2 months, 3 months. I don't know.
yeah, let's say a year.
Yeah, that would take time and money, and that would be a lot slower. Vold, not just the security issues, but compliance issues. How do we pay money in India without the licensing, etc.? So that would definitely be a lot longer. But yeah, for us, February, if we get the approval.
And that would be a mandated. I mean, how would you assure that this audit, this code audit, whatever you need to do, takes place, and not just the judge rules in Demir's favor, Demir starts throwing money around, and then there's another hack, and we all lose it.
We're back into the same dysfunctional board issues at that time, because I wouldn't approve it unless I was comfortable, and he needs unanimous approval to make it. But, you know, maybe we could work through that at the time if that's the
Well,
only
I mean,
available option.
Well, I mean, this has not only been said by me, even though I'm the one that said it first. What, if you do get a ruling against you from the judge, couldn't you just hand out the money to Demir, handouts? Sorry about the euphemism here, but couldn't you just distribute the money to Demir, and say 100,000, well, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe $1 million blocks, so the hack. Let's just say let's say the audit doesn't take place. He refuses, to do a code audit. Where are you at there? Can you just distribute it?
There's ways to mitigate it, so yeah, you don't lose it all at once. True, but it's not just the security audit. There's KYC that he says is unnecessary, which it is necessary, and then there's licensing in lots of different countries to work through as to how we make a valid distribution. So there's a lot of issues.
Yeah, I understand the other issues. I just don't want to lose all your 90 million recovery. Because he gets access to it, keys to the, to the kingdom.
Hopefully not, Joseph.
All right.
Just trying to finish these few questions here. So, the distribution one, or Jason Worrell's helpfully answered it. Indian government frozen assets. We did mention that a little bit earlier. Now, George, what's the present court date that we're waiting for?
There's one on the 12th of January and another one on the 27th, I believe.
Yeah, that's progressing, and without being optimistic, a little bit more positively than previously. So we've opened up the Hyderabad proceedings, which is new, and we've got increased pressure on the court there to act quickly. And in the original AAA proceedings, the judge is putting more pressure on the enforcement directorate to explain why they've frozen all of the money when only a small portion of the money was subject to that particular client. And the next hearing, the ED officer has to come and explain that to the judge. So, it's more positive than it has been previously, but it's still a very difficult process. Isn't the CR supposed to speak for all of us? Well, sort of. He just refuses to speak to many of you. CR is a board member. Yes, he is. Won't need a crypto.com account. US residents can't get an account. That's not, it is, yeah.
Let me just do a quick one on that point, Jason. So crypto.com is broadly available to US residents, with the exception of people residing in the state of New York, and that's because of more stringent crypto regulations in New York that crypto.com is not specifically in compliance with. For the rest of US residents, this should be fine. If you reside in New York or any other jurisdiction that crypto.com can't support, we do have a separate custom flow for you to KYC and receive your share of the distribution separately. And this is likely to be undertaken directly with the third-party custodian that we're currently engaged with, and away from crypto.com. The reason we can't do this right now for every single creditor is simply because of scale. When we use crypto.com for the vast majority of creditors, they'll be able to scale up and use their infrastructure to address that in a secure, scalable, and compliant way, which leaves a much smaller group of creditors that we can address on a more customized and bespoke basis if they have issues with crypto.com. 72940 just responded. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know your name. But yes, that's right. If you have issues with crypto.com for jurisdictional reasons, you'll be able to provide your wallet address and KYC information separately, and then it'll be a direct credit.
All right, so we've caught those up. So any other live credit to us? 72940. It's like your prisoner number.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Sorry, Sean, one sec. 72940. If you can, yes, Vault already has it, and we'll be able to, but as we work through these issues, we may need all new information to be able to clear KYC and establish a way, a mechanism to work around the jurisdictional issues. So if you emailed the link that George put in there earlier, dl@vault.com, we can work through that. Okay, Sean.
Well, first, for you and any other creditor that might have family and friends in Australia, our prayers go out to you. So hopefully everybody's safe.
Thank you. It's been quite a week, right? I was actually in Bondi last Thursday, and it's just terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things I want to address is some questions that, I got to creditors because obviously, we have Demir who's making all these allegations, yet he doesn't communicate with us. So, one of the things I want to know is, will the new directors have full support to investigate any person or entity for criminal or civil activities?
Yeah, I mean that's a director's right, if any director comes in and wants to ask questions and those questions lead to things that they think should be investigated further or prosecuted, then they're capable of doing that.
Because the optics of it seem that we've had two CEOs after Darshan left. According to Demir, both of them sent emails of concern of criminal or civil activities that might be fraud by Sanju or Darshan, and yet
Well, I've never
nothing's
seen,
investigated.
as another board member and scheme manager, I've never seen such email accusations.
Well, I'm just like, Demir put an email out there that they both emailed you. And then it seems that Malcolm, the last CEO who wanted to investigate, the very person he was accusing of fraud, Darshan, has the power to get rid of him. So it just,
Yep.
it just seems bad optics. I think a lot of the creditors are concerned, with some of the influence Darshan. I mean, we say he's gone, he has nothing to do with all, but yet he still has a powerful vote to sort of the way it looks optically. Anybody who wants to look into some you know how it looks.
He has that right. I asked him to do that. He's not involved in any way other than, like I said, CPA, because he has to be, and I asked him to help me remove Malcolm, basically. There was the allegations from the creditor rep and Malcolm, effectively. You saw how I chose to respond to that publicly to all creditors. They had their laundry list of this. I've answered that publicly. I believe clearly there's nothing there that hasn't already been addressed, or frankly that warrants further investigation. But if another director wants to come in and raise those questions, then I'd no problem.
Now, can the extension of the scheme, we're talking the future, let's say we get there in September.
Yeah.
Can the extension of the scheme be denied or blocked by Darshan or other shareholders?
I don't believe that that's possible. But it is down to the terms of the scheme.
Yeah. The extension, George, is unanimous of the board?
Yeah. Yes.
So in theory, Sean, Darshan could remove whoever gets put up shortly that he's already now approved, put anybody else in that explicitly refuses. That's technically possible.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying, because one of my concerns is like R&T. Is R&T exclusively representing us against CPA, or are they representing Darshan?
Us. Well, sorry. Sorry, there's a bit, I apologize, guys, for the background noise. I'm at my brother's house and there's kids running everywhere. So sorry. Uh, R&T representing DeFi payments. And DeFi payments is not a party to the CPA arbitration. The party to the CPA arbitration is Darshan. DLA Piper have been engaged in respect of those proceedings. So effectively, that's how it works.
So
We
but
have we have the
RT
right to all the proceeds.
Yeah. So one of my things is there was, and I know R&T is a large law firm, but in the past they have, and I mean it's just two people from their company, but they were sanctioned and fined because two people that were handling an arbitration failed to disclose the true amount collected to creditors. So I just want to make sure, like you have direct oversight of the actual settlement, correct, with CPA. So it's not like could R&T actually hide it from you, or
Hell no. And R&T is not they were involved in the early stages. We removed them and we appointed DLA Piper. Darshan appointed
okay.
DLA Piper with my input. So DLA Piper in Hong Kong is running that. We are directly involved. No, it cannot be hidden.
But don't you think that's weird? How if how does Darshan get to appoint the lawyer when they're representing us? I know it's in his name.
He has to, yeah, it's in his name. So he has to be the party to the proceedings. He has to be the
Yeah, I
person appointing
understand
them.
that.
We're sitting behind him.
Now, have you thought of putting a lien against any future award or settlement to ensure? Here's the thing that's come up. Hey, this drags on because now we got to have, let's say, a scheme of creditors meeting, or back and forth and everything. And then it comes time, by the time we finally get a vote to appoint, if we get to remove Demir, appoint a new CR. Because for us creditors, we really can't. It's going to be tough to appoint a CEO we can trust if Darshan is the one who has to approve them, because Darshan, from his actions, has showed us the CEO that wanted to sort of investigate him, he just got rid of. I know you asked him to do it, but he did it. So one of the creditor's concerns would be, what if a creditor is appointed as CEO and we want to look into some of the activities going on, this 2 million payment to Flip Volt, where did it go to who, and just take an honest look at it. And then Darshan goes, hey, we got to remove them. And then now, if the limbo, if it continues like this and we can't get distribution, Darshan now, as a shareholder, could say, hey, you know what? There's no more scheme. We're terminating it. Now our protections under the scheme are jeopardized. And now what prevents Darshan?
Not really, Sean. So, and I'm not saying that's likely to happen. The scheme should be extended, but a liquidation is what would happen. So if the scheme's terminated,
Okay.
it becomes a liquidation, and an independent liquidator is appointed. Whether that's me or some other insolvency practitioner, and then any monies collected still get distributed to all creditors. And a liquidator also has an obligation to investigate. So if there are things, his job in a liquidation is to maximize recoveries to creditors. If there's something that needs to be investigated, he actually has an obligation to do so under the Singapore Insolvency Act. So creditors could raise questions and ask him to account for these sorts of things.
I know specifically we don't have a legal judgment against Darshan, but he did submit an affidavit and some sworn testimony that he relinquished all claims against the company. And from what I believe he meant to say is, definitely with CPI. I know there was some stuff with FTX where one of his other shell companies came in and said, hey, we got 800,000 here. I just want to make sure he doesn't have any other shell companies or anything else that's going to come and say, hey, you know what? We don't want to be surprised again. Hey, we just got 300,000 from CPA, but out of that, $150 million claim was this other totally separate company, DeFi Tech Europe, and we got to pay that out.
No.
I just want to make sure nothing like that's in our future, is it?
Nor is it possible. And if a claim like that materialized now, A, it would be a tremendous shock, and B, it needs to be adjudicated by the scheme manager now, or if it was a liquidator. And last time we made a distribution, we had the independent accountant verify claims as well. There's a process there that independent, experienced people are adjudicating claims. But no, I don't think that's even remotely possible. I mean, the FTX thing was a little different.
Yeah, and we just see, my thing is, if we have Darshan already in an affidavit, which is basically a sworn statement saying he's relinquishing all claims, and that he did the CPA business transactions, because I don't even know if it was a loan, backdraft loan, what it was, but it was some business arrangement. But he says he did it in custodialship of creditors, so all that's ours. Can we use that from Singapore court or higher court to get a lien or a judgment to basically let the arbitration court know, hey, if an award or something is given, it goes directly to us. It doesn't. We just want. I don't think it's wise to have this go through the hands of Darshan or his lawyers.
No. Yeah, without getting into the detail of it, which I shouldn't, I can assure you that that's already in place. Okay. It's not going through Darshan's hands. It will be directly remitted to us.
And if you could do me a favor, if you can maybe have a little chat with Darshan, say, is there any other spider web company you have under a pillow, something that's going to come
There's
out?
not.
Because I'm just going on record now.
Yeah.
Like I said when we first talked, this is a dysfunctional family fighting over money. In fact, it's never mind pay for creditor, legal fees. It's like nobody wants to bury the body. I mean, we got fighting all over now that 90 million's here. I just want to try to avoid what could happen if we get a positive award. I know collecting is another thing. Let's say 300-400 million. I could imagine Darshan doesn't want to let all that slip through his hands. I just would say that we don't have much faith in him. This is the same guy that wrote us a letter 1 month before he pulled the plug saying, hey, everything's good. He said we had no exposure to FTX. He says we had no volatility challenges with the current situation of the market. And you saw what happened.
Yeah, the monies from any recoveries from CPA are secured and not subject to any interference.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, and I love crypto.com. I'm with them. I believe in them. Did you ever follow up to see if we can get the creditors link to see if we can get at least some referral fees? Because, hey, that's from what I estimate, 30,000 creditors. I mean, they're getting almost $90 million. It could be $500 to $1 million in creditors that we could get back.
We've got the waiver on fees going forward, and that the first distribution is fee free. The referral fees come with a whole bunch of conditions that's not really available to us in this circumstance.
Oh, and then the other thing too, I know it might be legalese, but maybe talk to crypto.com, because if some people are prevented from their main exchange, they also own Kronos One, the exchange with the DeFi wallet that anybody can sign up, and maybe that can make things easier too.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
Okay. You guys take care.
Appreciate it. Quite a few extra chats. Jason, no, he hasn't approved any CEO yet. We're having this call to take input on that from creditors and to talk through it. Names of all creditors to the court. Okay, George answered that. We don't have a new approved CEO yet. What file we talked about? Okay, I think we've mostly dealt with them. Okay. Johnny?
Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, in the chat, Johnny just said he had a
Yeah.
couple. So yeah, please unmute and
Hello guys. Hello.
hey,
Hi. I just got a couple of questions I'm trying to ask. Firstly, I just coming back to crypto. So I've been away for years. So I haven't made my first distribution yet. When I come back, they kind of just run into the time where Vault block my distribution. So my first
mm,
distribution is still with Vault. Is
okay.
there a deadline where I need to withdraw my first distribution?
No,
Is
there's
there
no deadline at the moment, Johnny. We're stuck. Being
right?
able to make any distributions, which include the first one, we are hopeful to clearing that at the end of January and commencing distributions in February. And when that happens, we'll be in touch to make sure you get your first distribution.
So how does it work? Do they just combine my first distribution and the second
Probably be done
uh,
separately, I would think.
separately? Okay.
Yeah.
And I tried to because when I calculate, because the platform have the like calculation into estimate how much you can get it back.
Mm,
And when I calculate and when I log in, the amount is kind of different. So I'm not sure if it's correct because the distribution that stays in my account is roughly about like 22% ish. Is that like the norm for everyone or?
George, can you take that one?
Hi, Johnny.
I
The the percentage, the approximately 30+% recovery that we talked about for the first distribution, that's in US dollar terms, which is different from what it is in token value. I'm looking in the chat and Jason Worrell has effectively said the same thing. The reason that it may be a bit lower on the token percentage recovery is because of the difference in pricing between 4th July, which is when your claims are crystallized, versus when the rebalancing actually occurred before the first distribution. So to the extent what you see in associated with your account on the Vault app, that's in
yeah.
token value and should deliver about 30% in US dollar recovery at the time of the distribution, at the time of the rebalancing.
Okay, but because when I try to I think the vote asked me to like choosing the token that I want to receive. I didn't switch to different like token. I choose the same token that I was deposited, but I still getting like 22% ish. Like there's no like a different token adjustment or anything because like for example, if I deposit BTC and the withdrawal I chosen is the same token and I'm getting like 22%.
That's right, Johnny. Even if you had chosen a different token, there will be no difference in the recoveries delivered in US dollar terms, because that being able to choose a token shouldn't benefit or damage recoveries. So ultimately, the only reason for the difference in a token percentage recovery and the US dollar percentage recovery is due to change in price of the token.
Okay.
Johnny,
Okay. And
I think that this is it's hard to explain verbally. I reach out to dl.vault@crow.com, refer to the link that I posted in the chat. I can provide you the computations to help you understand this better.
Okay, I also go a question. So in terms of the crypto, I mean the method that we're going to use, the crypto.com withdraw distribution. Are we this is a bit weird, but I just why is crypto.com doing this like for us pro bono? Is there any reason why they're doing this free for us?
Well, they get the customers.
Okay. Is that the only reason or?
Yeah. Yep. It's an opportunity for them to get a whole bunch of people to sign up for accounts, basically.
Oh,
but we get
okay.
the benefit of their infrastructure and experience.
Okay. All right, no worries. So are we different? Are we still going to get a withdrawal through crypto.com, or is there still uh is there still it's not decided yet, or
We are advocating using crypto.com, and there's a court application to confirm that or otherwise to be heard on January the 19th. The creditor's representative, Demir, believes that it should be made through the Vault app platform, but we have concerns over security and compliance issues. That's the present debate, basically. Once that's resolved, which should be at the end of January, we hope that we're clear to make the distribution.
okay, all right. Okay, that's all my question. Thanks.
Thanks, Johnny.
Hey, Jason. Good morning.
Hey, MJ, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
I have a question. You're the scheme manager, right? Where are the checks and balances? Like, looks like there is daylight robbery happening like in San Francisco. Malcolm getting his salary approved, Damir getting his legal expenses approved. Like, who the hell is the accountant and who keeps the account balances and who approves it? Like, I don't get it.
I mean, they're fairly modest amounts that, certain operational funding is available to Volt, but the money is the fiat is effectively held by Kroll in our client account because we're able to get some yield on that for the benefit of creditors. So, when operational expenses come around, we provide the funding to Volt and then they can remit them. So, and these are very modest amounts, thousands of dollars. So they had sufficient funding. They always have a small balance there available, which, they have used for those purposes.
Can you please provide more transparency? Where is this funding available?
Where is the what?
Where is this funding? I'm assuming there is some liquid funds available with Vault Care, or who is dispersing this amount to Damir and Malcolm?
Well, George, do you want to take this?
Yeah. Hey, MJ. Broadly speaking, the bulk of the money sit with Pro. Every month, we are submitted a top-up amount, right? Funding requirement from the company for its operational expenses for that month. So I think when we receive these numbers, we review them, assess them, we transfer the money so that salaries can be paid, AWS can be paid, infrastructure can be supported for that month, right? So that funding requirement is about a month's worth of expenses going to the DeFi payments account. And that brings us to the question about Malcolm's salary and Damir's salary. Both of Malcolm's and Damir's salary are paid out of that specific account. And the signing authorizations are by management of the company, which is the way that Malcolm was able to pay himself a 1 month's worth of salary the day after he was terminated, because at that point he still had control over the signing authority with the bank.
So, okay, can you explain me who's the management of the company? Because that's my follow-up question. Who's the company at this point? I fail to understand.
The CEO at that
Yeah,
time.
so there is just one representative of the company, right? There is no other employee of the company. There's just one employee, the CEO.
There's some Vault Care employees.
But they are not part of the management that George was saying. So CEO has the
No.
authority
He's the
to
CEO.
approve the
Yes.
payment from the DeFi payments account, bank account, fiat bank account.
Correct.
Okay, so he gave the instructions to the bank to ACH the money to his account from
Correct.
DeFi. And okay, how about this Damir's payment, legal fees? How the hell that got approved? It was after the CEO was gone. There is no CEO.
After there was no CEO, there was a
I've got
request for a payment and we rejected it.
no, I've
No,
got
no,
I've,
no,
I've got
no.
I've got the answer
Yeah.
to that one. Let me take that. So we're talking specifically about the mayor's legal costs. Basically, before he obtained agreement from Malcolm, before Malcolm was removed, for reimbursement of some of his legal costs. And this was made in two tranches. When Malcolm was removed, we instructed Care to ensure that none of these payments were actually made because they required approval that had not yet been granted. However, ultimately, the mayor was able to exert pressure on the operational team to make those reimbursements, even though they were unauthorized. Now, we've made it very, very clear that this to the operational team that this is not allowed in the absence of authorization by the scheme manager and by the broader board per the terms of his contract. It should not be done, and it should not have been done, and we're working towards that.
No, no. Okay, now who's the operational team? I thought CEO is the only guy who can approve the payment. Who are these operational folks?
These are the Care team. You can't be MJ, the Care team assists with the payments, right? The CEO can't sit there and approve 30, 40 payments every month. It's simply not a good use of his time. So he's assisted by the Care team.
Yeah, but where is the governance? Who approves those expenses? Looks like there are no checks and balances. Somebody has to have the authority to say this is a valid expense or not, right? I understand. I've been on the financials, work with
Yeah.
accountants and account
MJ,
receivable, account payables.
approval wasn't sought, right? From the board.
So how did they? So that's what
They
I'm saying.
they circumvented the
there is no
approval
governance,
process.
and which is very, very, very concerning to me.
There is governance. It was circumvented.
What is the governance? Can you please explain?
The board should approve.
So then, no, but there is no. They
They
approved
didn't
it,
seek.
right?
They circumvented the governance process in place.
No, but the operational team should have seek the board approval, right? That is this expense approved. Why did they disperse the funds? There is no governance according to me.
They took a director's instruction rather than following the governance procedure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There is no governance. That it's a
No. You keep
daylight
saying no
robbery happened.
governance. There is governance. It was circumvented.
Yeah, so that is basically in operational governance. It's not working.
Sure. Correct. There's a lot of things not working, unfortunately.
No, but that's not, you cannot let that happen. You are supposed to be the agent of the company. So these things should be clawed back from the paycheck of the mayor. These expenses can be recovered.
Yes, MJ.
So can we make sure we get those expenses? It might be a few $1,000s, but it's all creditor assets. Jason, I hope
Sure.
you understand.
Yes, of course, MJ.
So we don't have money to waste, or even if it is a $1 or $2 or $20 on unnecessary expenses being unapproved.
Understood,
And
MJ.
okay. So if I understood correctly, what you explained about Darshan and his involvement, so looks like we are doing something similar to what we are doing with flip fault litigation, that we are fronting the legal cost of Darshan's legal, arbitration with CPA. Since you mentioned we have hired the lawyer for him and we are paying the cost. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, we are the funder. Correct.
Okay. And that is the only involvement of him, like he had. So Are you saying that in that arbitration there is no mention of DeFi payments? It's all between Darshan and CPA?
Correct.
Okay. So,
DeFi payments is mentioned and known as the beneficiary sitting behind Darshan.
sorry, can you repeat that?
DeFi payments is mentioned and known in the proceedings as the beneficiary of any proceeds that sits behind Darshan.
Any proceeds that sit behind? I don't get it.
We're the beneficiary, MJ. He's
So that
holding
is
it on
no,
our behalf.
so
He made the loan on behalf of DeFi payments. We're entitled to any proceeds that are recovered, and that is known.
oh, that is known. Okay, okay, I get your point. Okay. Now coming to the hearing, right? I'm not sure why you went to the court, because you have section 14.9C, which gives you full authority that you will not do anything which is not legal and not regulatory compliance. So why would you not enforce that section and go with crypto.com?
George, do you know what that section is? Do you want to take this?
Yes, MJ. Ultimately, we're not able to actually undertake that distribution without the agreement of the board on certain matters. Things like the quantum to be distributed, and the tokens, whether to allow creditors the further choice in token denomination. So ultimately, we're not able to force through a second distribution without that board agreement, and which is why we have gone to court for the court to give its directions on this specific matter.
No, but the court is not going to help, right? It is known that the board has to make a decision. So the court will just, judge is just going to say that you can't be, behaving like kids. Go back and, make the board decision, right? But what I'm saying is right now, if I understood correctly, the outstanding point is about the crypto.com, whether that can be used or the vault platform can be used. So there is clear guidance as part of 14.9C, which says the scheme manager is not be obliged to do or omit or do anything if it would or might in their reasonable opinion constitute a breach of any law or regulation.
Yeah, so that means I can stop using Volt, right?
Yeah.
Which I've done. It doesn't mean I can force the use of crypto.com, because that requires board consent in relation to a number of key points.
Okay. So you are saying, okay, I get your point. So then I don't think you have represented the case in that manner, that getting the approval from the court that you have found as part of 49C that there is a problem and you cannot use Vault platform. You have raised the issue is a security issue, not regulation issue.
Both security, compliance, and regulatory issues are the reasons why we're concerned about the use of the Volt platform.
Okay, so if the court gives the judgment, right, that you have to follow the scheme and have a SCM and have the creditors vote on it, right? And if that gets into a gridlock, what are you going to do?
What the court directs.
No, the court directs to do the SCM, and then we are stuck in a grid. You don't get the votes or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Then what happens? How does the second distribution happen?
Well, seemingly we will be stuck again. So if the court says we need to use Volt, then we will work to try to fix Volt security, compliance, and regulatory issues to be able to affect the distribution.
Can the judge force the audit and security issues
Yep. I mean, they could, but I
Yeah, I
think
don't think they
basically
are.
you're back into the 14.9C point is that he'll say you must use Vault, and I'll say, okay, let's use Vault when I'm satisfied that it's secure, compliant to do so.
Yeah, but can the judge force the audit? How confident are we that we get that judgment from the court and we force it on to the mayor that that audit needs to be done? Because right now he's not doing that audit, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure whether the court will force it or not. I can't give an opinion on what I think the court will do or not. But if the court says you must use bold and that's it, then it's back to 14.9C and let's address the problems that are there such that bold becomes secure and compliant. That would be my position.
Yeah, but unless there is a judgment from the court, I don't see how we are going to proceed from where we are right now. Either way.
Yep. Yep.
Whether it is crypto.com or Vault platform.
Sure.
Okay. Quick question on FTX. I know I had asked you last, you mentioned that we still had to provide some KYC documents, and you were waiting on Darshan to provide that. Where do we stand with that?
George, can you respond to that?
Has been provided.
When was it provided? Why is the FTX claim not yet? Why we have not received it?
It took some time to be provided because they were what was being asked for KYC were management accounts for a variety of entities that needed to be prepared. So they've since been prepared, and we are finishing up that KYC submission.
Oh, so hold on.
These are dormant entities that are the ultimate beneficiaries of the claim that the liquidator wanted extra KYC for, including their accounts, and there weren't any accounts for these entities. We had to then get the information and get somebody to prepare the accounts, which was difficult.
So, okay, so what is the current status? If I understood correctly, George, we have not submitted the KYC information. We have received the information from Darshan. Correct?
That's right. We are pending some final clarifications. We expect it to be submitted in very short order, definitely by this week. We did only receive the updated drafts late last week. So it's still being it's still being assessed, but once that's done and we are clear on the numbers, it goes to the administrators.
Sorry, I missed the last part. What happens with the administrator?
Oh, what I say is once we are happy with the numbers, it gets submitted to the administrators in their KYC process.
Oh, okay. On the FTX side. Okay, got you.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I think I'm done with the question. But I don't know how you want to handle the CEO discussion, Jason, but I want to be involved in that.
Yep, sure. There's just a question from Sean in the chat about the CPA arbitration. Sean, I can't answer that for all the reasons we've been over previously, right? We can't address any specifics as to the arbitration because of its confidentiality. Okay, well, let's sort of open it up on the CEO point. I mentioned briefly earlier sort of what my view is that, the right sort of person for that role, given there's no new business, there's no distribution required from Bold. The Bold care team is handling technical queries. We handle general creditor queries. Is that, there's no real CEO function for the business really anymore. And that given, I think Sean was mentioning earlier, lots of accusations against me for my removal, and governance is what we're lacking here. with the impasse at the board is that, you know, a good CEO choice would be a licensed insolvency practitioner who's experienced in these matters and also experienced in assisting with and understanding the illiquid asset recovery. So that would be my first preference. We received quite a lot of direct input from creditors. We've received quite a lot of creditors who have put themselves forward. I do acknowledge that it's important for creditors to have representation because they feel like they're not getting it from the creditor representative. It's also clear that it's not immediately available for me to replace the creditor representative with a creditor, and that, you know, so I hear you, and that the right thing to do may well be to appoint a creditor into that CEO position, and preferably one that can meet, you know, what I'm talking about in terms of the role going forward. So, you know, I wanted to just hear from creditors as to whether what they thought here, and we'll sort of take this decision under advisement. And shortly after this meeting, I think we would look to be making some decisions and getting on with it. So if anybody has any thoughts or views, they're most welcome here.
I do not think LIP makes any sense, Jason, honestly. With you already being an LIP, there is no additional requirement of that expertise, according to me. And right now, the board is dysfunctional. It is very, very important. Creditors have totally lost trust and faith in the board. So it's very, very important to gain that trust back. And putting a creditor in the CEO role will help a lot in that direction. That is a high priority item right now, according to me. And I'm not sure what LIP is going to add value. Correct me if I'm wrong, because most of the recovery is done. And whatever your involvement is, even as a LIP on the recoveries, is through the legal counsel for flip fault and CPA. So you are not actively going and doing the arbitration, right? So you are acting as an agent of the company and executing the instructions given in the scheme, right? Which a creditor can also do it. I don't see LIP adding any value at this point in time.
And I think something just came into the chat, which is a good point. Like, you know, this person should be independent, neutral, and an outsider. That's why I think an LIP is good, because
no, I don't think so.
They're
because
very.
I
Well, I'm just giving my view, MJ.
yeah,
that,
but
you know,
I don't believe that, because it's a bankruptcy, right? If you look at it, what's happening, the creditors take over the board and the shareholders should not be there. I'm not even sure why Darshan is still around as a shareholder. Okay. Right now, private credit and private equity is blowing up out here, all places in the US. Okay. Everything is being taken over by the creditors. They wipe off the shareholders. The creditors take over the control of the company. So at the outset, the creditor should have become the CEO. That's how it works. Okay. DeFi Payments was bankrupt. They did not, these are all creditor assets. Okay. So I feel it makes sense that the CEO should have skin in the game, and it makes him accountable. And right now,
well,
the current
that's what people thought with Demir.
Yeah, so that's what I'm coming to, that we tried to do that in the creditor representative, and he failed miserably. So right now we don't have a creditor representative. So in absence of that, it would serve as another purpose, that a CEO could be the person to listen to the creditors, come to this town hall, attend to these quarterly updates, and be transparent and work in the favor of the creditors. That is why my thinking is it makes more sense to have a creditor in that role than bring in an outsider who has no skin in the game, and it does not really make sense.
Yeah, sure. I hear you. I mean, I think the independence is valuable. Not having skin in the game, actually. The only other thing to say is, the CPA arbitration, if we get an award, then there may well be a further complicated enforcement process that would benefit from somebody with experience in that. Flip
Come
Vault's
on, Jason, you
not
have
done yet.
35 years of experience. We can bank on that.
I know, but people don't trust me anymore, or some don't.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure how much additional value on adding an LIP in a CEO role. Okay, we could always get an additional. You have the budget to seek additional opinion, right? You could always do that. You could get an expert LIP to get second your opinion. Can't you do that?
I've always been pretty reluctant to incur additional cost.
No, but I'm
people
just
are.
saying, why would you, if you really wanted that expertise, you just
Mm,
hire a part-time LIP, not put a LIP in a CEO role.
all right, noted, MJ. Thank you. So sorry, Rob has chatted into the group a question that we must have missed. Malcolm's salary was 8,000 part-time job, and Demir's is 10,000. I think that's all correct. Was it 8 for Malcolm, George?
No, it was a bit less than that.
Slightly less,
Yeah.
yeah. 7 something or something like that. But for Demir and for ourselves, it is US dollars, isn't it, George? I think so. But yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Any other thoughts or comments on the CEO for us to
Hey, Jason,
deliberate? Hey,
I missed the last,
Joseph.
I missed the last, well, I missed everything from when you started on the CEO internet
Okay.
connection problem. Did, did anybody put forward, Sean?
Sean has been put forward, but nobody had put forward any individual nominations. I just sort of explained my thoughts that an independent person would be good, a professional person like an LIP for the asset recovery process and just for their independence and governance. But I acknowledge that creditors, because they can't necessarily become the CR at the minute, do want to be heard, and I acknowledge that. And then MJ was sort of agreeing with the latter, that he thinks it's important that it's a CR with someone that has an invested interest, basically.
Yeah, I
That's
heard,
what you missed.
I
Yeah.
did hear MJ's comments, and
Yep.
I agree with them. You know, Jason, you stand the risk of looking like by pushing for LIP. It seems like it makes it look like you're trying to avoid any type of accountability or investigation into former board members or any kind of wrongdoing. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying just keep that in mind that it looks like you're just trying to put a pencil pusher in there that's not going to look for any kind of accountability. And I'm not all hung up on accountability, but at this point, it seems like we do need some. So I think
Well,
Sean, he's been there from the beginning, would make
Yep.
I mean, he can do everything you need him to do, and he can do everything we need him to do, and not just so I mean, that's kind of what we're looking for, is to serve both roles. So that's my idea, and that's my thoughts. I
Yep.
think I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that, and he seems to agree. So, anyways, all right, I'm down. That's all I have to say.
Yep. Thank you. I would argue that a licensed insolvency practitioner is better placed to investigate and more accountable, frankly. But I hear what you're saying.
Well, wouldn't Sean have the ability to enlist the help of a licensed insolvency practitioner? Just like MJ said,
I don't think so.
No.
No, I mean, the cost of it would have to be approved
Well,
unanimously
I mean,
by
you
the
approved
board,
2 million.
probably.
You approved 2 million to go into some advocate for Flip Volt, and you got guys cutting their own checks. I mean, it seems like you'd
Yeah,
be.
it could be possible
Yeah.
that you could engage an advisor.
I mean, do you have
So,
you have an idea of somebody in particular that's by name? And are they a
yes,
creditor? Are they a creditor?
no. We did go to 4 different firms to see if we could find candidates, including Solomon Tan. That was my idea a while back, to try to bridge the impasse with Demir and like, well, let's put your man on the board. He declined. 2 other firms declined. We do have one candidate, Luke Furler, from Quantuma.
Sounds like that's who we're going with.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. I mean, like I said, I'm here to listen, and I'm not set on that view. I recognize
I'll be willing to make a personal wager with you, $1,000 that's who we go with.
I'll take that bet.
Really?
for $1,000.
Yeah, I don't think you'll
just
take
change
that
the
bet.
name.
I'll just change it. Yeah, I was going to do it, but now I've changed my mind.
All right.
Luke was the
goodbye.
independent assessor, right?
Yeah.
He was the independent assessor. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for hearing me out.
There's no
Thank you,
conflict.
Joseph.
No conflict there.
No.
Okay.
The independent liquidator runoff point from 72940, who is most welcome here. Thank you. And I think your commentary has been very helpful. I don't think that's a bad thing either, right? Like if this scheme wasn't extended, a liquidator, we're no longer using the Volt platform. There are just recoveries to be made and then distributions made. There's no new business. So, I wouldn't argue with that as a mechanism to finish this out, frankly. I do think, and people may argue, yeah, Bill wanted that a while ago. Fair enough. He's not wrong. I would argue, or I would honestly prefer that it be me, because I think the recovery exercise in respect of the illiquid assets is still the only thing that moves the dial for creditors. And given our experience and knowledge, we would be best placed to do that. But that would be a decision for creditors to make at the time.
But in theory, we could wait until after the CPA arbitration is announced. Then we'll know how much we're waiting for.
Yeah.
And after that, then liquidation might be more advantageous than prior to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing what we're dealing with at the very least, which, we really hope we find out soon, right? And if we don't get a judgment, or if we do get a judgment and then they just pay it, well, that's nice. If we get a judgment and they don't pay it, and we have to then go and get it, then that's a different environment.
Yes, you'd have to wait about 18 months to get money from a liquidation. Is that right?
No, I mean, liquidator can do this, pay dividends as and when appropriate. Would they have to? They'd have to do what we've done with crypto.com or replicate it to have a distribution mechanism. They may feel they want to just pay out fiat to bank accounts, instead. So, but dividends can be declared as and when appropriate by a liquidator, having regard to how much they've got and the cost of the exercise versus future recoveries. So there would be no timing obligation on them for it to take 18 months or anything at all. If there's money there, they could pay it out.
So the quicker method to get money out of a scheme that has board dysfunction would be judicial management, perhaps?
Yeah, I think liquidation, actually, because judicial management is a process that you put in place to assess whether or not the company should continue, whether that's a better outcome for creditors, and or whether it should enter liquidation, and or whether it should be returned to the directors. Returning to the directors in this situation is not an available option. So it's just, should it be rehabilitated or should it be wound down? So I think basically you end up at liquidation anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the problem with liquidation that I see is that that gives the liquidator the ability to sell our coins when they see fit, and then hold the fiat as long as they see fit. So they can sell us at the bottom of whatever market movement there might be, and then
Yes.
hold the money for however long that might
Yes.
take. And we miss everything. So basically, it turns all of us crypto holders and crypto believers into non-crypto holders, and left with nothing except for some fiat.
Possibly, and fees are subject to either creditor approval or court approval. I can guarantee you one thing: it'll be more than $10,000 a month.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of us guys that believe in crypto at all would want you to, or anybody, just deciding when to sell our coins, and then how long to hold on to the cash. And if they're going to sell it and just turn the cash right over to us, we could buy back in at whatever fees. But yeah, that's the.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I've always been against the liquidation. So, all right, bye bye.
Yep. Just to address 72940's creditors get to vote on the new CEO. No, that's not contemplated at the moment. That would effectively require a scheme meeting, and that takes some time and has some cost attached to it. I'm trying to take feedback. We've had a lot of individual feedback given to us, yeah, this call is for that purpose as well, for us to then consider and make a decision. The liquidator should be disincentivized to recover and distribute. It's nice in theory. Actually, they're incentivized to do the opposite, right? And this was a point of contention when the scheme was put forward versus a liquidator. I'm a liquidator, and we've seen a lot of crypto insolvencies over the past number of years, and the fees in relation to all of them are very high because a liquidator can take advantage of the complication and the number of creditors to justify high fees, basically. So it's a risk.
Hey, Jason, can you explain what will be the process of the CEO appointment? Like, is it you who's going to decide the candidate
Yes.
and then forward your recommendation to Darshan to approve it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk to Darshan once I've sort of thought through this and taken all of your guidance, and then clear with him. But he will fall in with what I recommend, and then we'll make a decision. I don't want to delay things further.
Jason?
Yeah,
Sean
sure.
here again.
Hey.
That's one of the things. See, that's the challenge. I don't think my phone's not ringing. I don't think Darshan's calling me right now to say, "Hey, what do you think?" But as a CEO, my whole thing is maximizing, of course, recoveries for the creditors. And I'm a big fan of crypto.com. Think it's a great way to expedite. But the challenge is, with an outside CEO, and as you said, Darshan has to approve, and because of NDAs, you confirm one thing that there's no, and this is what I don't get. You can't confirm if Darshan doesn't have. Is he pleading 1, 2, 3 different claims in arbitration against Amber for himself, other entities, or is it just for us creditors? And you can't confirm that, yet you confirmed that Amber hasn't made a counterclaim. They're not they made no counterclaim.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about it. Sorry, I can say that the only claims being made are for the benefit of DeFi payments.
Yep, but that doesn't mean it's all us. He could be saying, "Hey, part of these funds are for."
It is all us. I can say.
Well, that was my second question, because from what I saw in his affidavit and what we submitted to the moratorium court, all the proceeds, it seems, that were given to CPA were itemized in crypto. That was 100% property of us creditors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you see, just in your do you see how anybody could argue against that? Hey, all that we listed that came from creditors' crypto, that wasn't all theirs now. Now that we got this 500 million, hey, there's some company in Lithuania that has a rightful claim in that. So I can't, could you see yourself approving any outside last second claim against
No.
the crypto that was already submitted in affidavit to the court
No.
that was all creditors' funds?
No.
So, and that's the thing. If Darshan has the power not to extend scheme, because listen, I do think you have integrity. The challenge is there's going to come a time where if Darshan has other motives, he can't have you around.
There's no other motive. I mean, but that's just you believing me. But he can't. He has no financial interest in DeFi payments. He gave up his claims as a creditor.
And why didn't he turn over the vault.com platform domain?
Or his 800,000 shares?
Yeah.
The two things, one at a time, gents. The vault.com was not his to give. There are other shareholders.
It's his company. It's his company. Come
But
on,
there's
Jason.
there's other shareholders of that company.
Yeah,
And
Sanju.
no,
Yeah.
independent shareholders of the holding company that
It's
owned
DeFi Holding.
the. Yeah, it was DeFi
We're talking
Holdings.
about the one in UK.
DeFi Holdings with
Yeah,
other
but
external
that's the one in
independent
UK.
shareholders.
Yeah,
So
but they're shill shareholders. They're just his representative agent that's on the board so he can have the address over there. They're not real individual people.
they're real independent shareholders that he should have needed to seek approval for to, transfer
Did
that
we ask?
asset. Yes.
And yeah, so and not that it's a big deal, but that's my thing. My thing is, what's the next company that comes out with a claim? And
No other claims, Sean. There won't be any other claim. And then the 800, look, we've been through that, and the only comfort you can take is that your creditor representative, sorry to say it like that, but he is.
Yeah.
He approved it, and
Well,
that
with
he would
FTX,
never approve that.
Yeah. With FTX, to me, we have no proof it was all of our funds. But when I look at sworn affidavits and then we're telling the moratorium court, hey, 3,500 Bitcoin, 10,000, 12,000, whatever ETH and this much XRP, that was all transferred to CPA to fund this business transaction. So I don't see how now another company come out and say, or another entity could come and say, hey, you know what? 1,000 of that Bitcoin is a claim that we approve for somebody else.
It can't happen, Sean.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you. And your phone's not ringing, but no one's phone's ringing. I was waiting for this meeting to gauge and get input from any creditor that wanted to give it in relation to this before. We do consider and then engage with potential CEOs. Anyone else? Any other thoughts or questions?
Well, since you don't have any other questions, why don't you send a quick chat to Volcare to unblock 38 BTC?
Yep.
Sounds like a great plan.
Great plan. Let me revert to you on that, Joseph, today. In my day. So when you wake up tomorrow, it'll be resolved. All right. Well, thank you all. Appreciate your time and contribution. Leave it with us. We'll be in touch with all creditors shortly as to next steps. And
could I ask a last second question here before you go?
Sure.
My question would be, you said that you wanted to gauge us and you want to take us under consideration for this decision you are about to make. I think you've heard from all of the ones present here the same thing, which is we believe, we want, we need, we deserve to have a CEO, current creditor representative. How close are now you, by hearing all of us that came out here present to speak with you today, to tell you that this is what we want? Or
Well,
you're just considering it? Okay, yeah, I consider it, but you're still gonna do what you already decided to do.
well, let's see. And I was just about to jump in for 72940 who disagrees with you. So not everybody here. And there have been other creditors contacting us directly prior to the meeting, many of whom have expressed the same view as you, but some others who have expressed the alternate view. So I can appreciate it's not ideal. But something that we will take under advisement and we will revert shortly. I do recognise, Rob, that it's important for creditors to be represented, given the failing, if you like, of the current creditor representative. I also don't want the same thing to happen again, where we've had a creditor who does have a direct exposure himself, but is effectively gone rogue for reasons I was asked at the start of this that I can't really fathom. Jason Worrell's mentioned Bruce Tan. We do know him, and he does have a good skill set for this. Yeah, and of the candidates, who do we choose?
And he also is a creditor, right? He is a representative. He has skin in the game through a business that he
does.
represents. Yeah,
He
so
does, yeah.
that's great. That's what I'm saying. Whoever you put in there to be a current creditor.
Yes. And there's lots of TANs in Singapore, 72940. No, there's no relation there. No, all of that's fair and valid, right? Also taking into account the previous vote for a creditor rep, which is the only real indication of who creditors would prefer as a creditor rep. But now that it's a little different, assessing each candidate's experience for what I described as, I think, important for going forward, and balancing that sort of last known voting interest, if you like, from creditors with the present skill set to try to avoid, what's happened with the current creditor rep is what we're trying to do.
Thank you. And lastly, I'm sorry to revert, but I asked a question and you left all the Q&A sessions and came to talk about the CEO piece of it. But there was a question left pending back there, and I would really like to hear your take on that.
Was that the salary one, Rob? I did address that.
No, not the salary one. After that, I asked another question.
Sorry if I missed it again. Is it up higher? Okay, let me have a look.
Is that cannot tell us the creditors by email privately?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's a question.
Why can we not tell the creditors what CPA paid privately? Well, because it's still confidential. Whether I tell one creditor or I tell all creditors, it's not a piece of information that I'm allowed to disclose. Basically.
Who is not allowing you to do that? Or what is not allowing you to do that? Because I thought so far you said that you couldn't say that because it was in our interest that you didn't make this information public such that they would not know how much reserves you would have to defend us from themselves.
Oh,
But
hang on. I might be misunderstanding your question. In terms of the amount of expenditure that's been incurred and how much money we've got in. Sorry, I thought you meant how much money they remitted to us, Rob. So I can't talk about the proceedings. That's confidential. Expenditure. I mean, I could if I put you under an NDA such that you don't disclose to anybody else, but the risk of telling a creditor who tells other people and then creditors for that to happen.
But I think at some point in time, somebody has been willing to sign an NDA with you, with Kroll, so that you could disclose that. But the answer was no, that could not happen.
Well, this is the role of the creditor rep, right? To review and approve all expenditure. And that is something that Demir was doing extremely diligently the whole time. And,
But he has not, or he did not. So can we do that now? Can you at least disclose that to a creditor that is willing to sign that, or to a few creditors that are willing to sign an NDA, so that the transparency is there and the willingness to be
Well, it's not.
transparent is there?
I mean, it's not really transparency because it's not to all creditors. And, you know, if we appoint a new CEO now, and if that's a creditor, that would be a role for him, right? If I
But we don't
don't, it
even
can
have the
still
credit, but we don't have that done yet. I don't know how much longer it's going to be like this.
leave it with me. And if something doesn't happen that's satisfactory to you, Rob, I'll come back to you and we can engage directly on it.
Well, but I'll tell you this, then I'll leave it up to you. But I just want you to know that I have also before left it up to you, and you make me and all of us wait for 7 months to do a roll call on figuring out if we liked or believed that he was doing a good job or not. And then you got over 1,500 answers saying that they wanted to replace him, but it took you 7 months to do that. So I leave it up to you again. I don't have much of a choice, but please keep that in mind. Last time I was extremely patient because I was the one that asked you that before, and it took you 7 months to actually come back to do that. And that's a little harsh. It's tough. And now we could argue that he was doing a good job all along for you, but you were conscious of it, that he was not doing a good job for us, the creditors. And yet,
Yeah. I mean,
because
fair enough.
the big
I was,
piece, the big piece of the work he did, and you said this out loud already. You said that he would do a good job for you, and you believe he was doing a good job for us in the piece that he was interacting with you. But you also knew that a big piece of his job was talking to us, and you knew he was not talking to us, and he today still refused talking to us. And you, to a certain extent, you could even say, well, but he was doing a good job in the other piece. Well, bottom line is that now he didn't, and unfortunately, he even burned you and came after you. So, you are asking me now, leave it up to me. And I say, I will. I don't have much of a choice. But please, this is who you're talking to. Somebody that waited 7 months for you to do something that you end up doing, and you get the best response yet, right? Because the subsequent Google Sheets that was sent out only collected a few hundred. That day,
yeah.
we collected over 1,500. And then I think there's something pending regarding that, because I think you were reviewing some email addresses that had a dot in between the names that said that they were discounted, which in reality should have not. And I think you said you also were going to look into that. So that number of 1,500 could potentially even be more,
Mm. Understood,
right?
Rob.
So that's why it's so important to have somebody that actually is willing to talk and represent creditors. Thank you.
Understood, Rob.
Can those 1,500 signatures be submitted to the court to show creditor sentiment?
No, because the application to court is not about the creditor reps removal. And since then, there's been another survey, if you like, that's much lower. So the more recent one is more, could be argued, is more reliable sentiment. And it was much lower. All right, gents. Well, thank you. If there are no further questions, appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch shortly.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.